My guest has said she's nervous. I can't imagine why. She is the indisputable reigning queen of the Wagnerian sopranos, and you know, of course, that I must mean by this time, Birgit Nilsson. When she gave a concert at the Met last year, after a 4-year absence, one reviewer described it, actually described the audience response as, quote, a sustained cathartic roar, almost elemental in its ferocity. Something like when I walked out earlier. This roar of approval has been stunningly, consistently part of Madame Nilsson's career, and it's a career that has spanned a period of over 35 years and seems happily to have no end in sight. And her fans, who are legion, will be delighted to learn that a book of photos and thoughts about her career have come out. It's a book entitled Birgit Nilsson, My Memoirs in Pictures. And here's a bit of a sneak preview of some of the contents of that. Here's Nilsson in Turandot, a role that she characterizes as hazardous for reasons other than that 40-foot train. Next is Brunhilde in The Valkyrie. And I guess that's the inspiration for this Playboy, Playboy cartoon. Inevitable, someone would think of that. Here she is in the same role with, you notice that she's wearing a miner's cap with a light on there. There's a story that goes with that, and I'll try to remember to have her explain that to us later. The role of Tosca with tenor Franco Corelli. Madame Nilsson mentioned that in some quarters he is known as Cosche d'Oro, or Golden Thighs. I don't know where, but he is known as that. Here's a more personal setting at home in Sweden with Tristan and Isolde and her Saint Bernard, Nalle. So whether on stage or off, Birgit Nilsson is legendary for her honesty, her warmth, her wit, her incredible talent, her ability to whistle for a cab with 2 fingers, any number of things that she's popular for. So it's with great pleasure that I welcome the incomparable Birgit Nilsson. Well, it was cathartic and elemental. Say, Madame Nilsson, would you clarify something for me? When is it correct to yell brava, and when is it correct to yell bravo? And
only when it is good, you know. You are good. And if you are a woman, you then say brava. And if it's a man, you say bravo. And with many, you say bravi. But I only really know it in Italy. They all, you know, they do wrong.
Those are the rules.
Yes, yes.
I see. Well, I've made
there
a lot of
different
mistakes
rules in every country, you know. I was in Hamburg the other day, and there, you know, you cannot whistle there. In America, you can whistle, you know, when you appreciate something, and you can whistle in Sweden, but you cannot whistle in Italy or in Germany, or, you know, those places. And I had invited, you know, a niece of mine, and niece, that is a girl.
A niece? Yeah, that's a girl.
And her boyfriend, they are both doctors. And he thought, you know, it was marvelous public, he said, but I thought I wanted them even wilder, so I started to whistle, but I was the only one, he said. I cannot understand it.
Well, whistling is equivalent to booing?
Yes, of course. So he booed me instead.
I'm sorry to hear that. Tell me something, actually, this fascinates me. I've never heard it really explained. But obviously not anyone can be a Wagnerian soprano. That you really, it isn't just a question of work and willingness, that you have to be born with a certain kind of equipment.
Yes.
Technically and just plain physiologically, what have you got that I haven't got, for example?
Well, I really don't know. Maybe you haven't tried out your beautiful vocal cords. Well, you have to be born with a pair of robust vocal cords, I think.
Robust, yeah.
Yes, and you have to have the stamina and the physique for it. Mm-hmm. And not everyone is born as a Wagnerian singer, either or Mozart singers or popular singers or whatever, you know.
Well, is there a shape to the chest cavity that's important, a certain amount of resonating area?
Well, I didn't have in beginning, but I have now. It comes by the years.
Oh, it comes with the years?
Yes, the lungs are growing very much.
I didn't know that.
But it's still, you know, if you really look, you know, I'm a little bit serious also. Yeah. If you really look at a singer, they, you know, a dramatic singer, they're very broad. They're very broad in the back and very, you know.
Yeah. And that develops and broadens.
Develops all the time, yes, yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah. How do you have to lead your life differently from other people because of your valuable instrument? Is it a little like carrying a Stradivarius around everywhere? You have to be careful constantly?
I don't know. I have never been carrying a Stradivarius, but I live as other people, I guess, just normal. I never think of my vocal cords, really.
If there's someone with a cold in the room, do you retreat in horror?
Yeah, that's bad. I try.
Try to stay away from that.
It's difficult, very difficult. Yeah. Because when you get hoarse, you don't sing so beautiful.
Mm-hmm. There's a story that you discovered your own high notes in a certain way, that at a time when you had a cold, and in trying, as I understand it, to compensate for the cold and sing, you call it singing over the cold?
I was desperate. I was down in Bristol. It was one of my very first concerts. I had to sing two Verdi's Requiem, and I had such bad cold, and I could hardly speak, and I was closing myself in a room, and I thought, I must do something. You know, if you really have a good technique, you can sing over it. And, you know, I was so desperate, so I learned something at that time in 2 hours. So I sang those two concerts with my new technique, which I never have left since. I found it was very good.
In attempting to compensate for the cold, you learned...
Right, yes. You know, I tried to relieve the vocal cords as much as I could, and I, you know, was thinking, you know, you have to have a lot of support when you sing, and the tones have to sound here high up in your head, and I tried to find those places, and somehow it helped me, so I could do the two concerts, and I got my fee, and I went out and bought a new beautiful ring and a tie to my husband, so he shouldn't be too angry at me when I came home without any money.
But you learned something that you've had ever since.
Yes, yes, I found my technique.
Was it your first opera performance, Der Freischütz, that was such a flop?
It wasn't a flop at all.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, only the conductor. I did one mistake. He was a very famous conductor. He was 75 years old. And
well, he's the one who told me it was a flop.
And I did one mistake, and he thought I was impossible. He said I was unmusical, but I got very good reviews. But I really was very scared to sing with him, so every time I then went to the performance, I was always stopping, you know, on the bridge to the opera and thinking of jumping in the water instead. Really, it was terrible.
He had you that terrified?
Yes, I was completely terrified.
What could he do to you?
I was afraid. I was scared of him. I got complex. I very easily get complex, you know. And then 1 year later came another marvelous conductor called Fritz Busch, and I did Lady Macbeth with him, and he helped me over my difficulties.
He brought you back
Yes.
to confidence and
Brought me back to normal.
all of that.
Yes.
What is it that there's a time when they have a note sung off stage by someone else, and it's a D flat. I didn't know about this, but I had heard that.
Oh, yes. Oh, remember, yes.
What is
That was when I was going to sing Lady Macbeth with Fred Spurge.
Yes.
He came from America, and he said, you know, one of our very last notes is a D flat in Macbeth, and it's very difficult because there has to be un fil di voce, has been so delicate with 3 or 4 or 5 P's, even pianissimo. And he said, no singer can sing that after a whole evening, so I will let another singer stand out there and sing that last note. So you walk out, and she sings that note for you, and nobody would, you know the difference. And I couldn't speak any German at that time, so I just, you know, let it happen until the premiere. But in the rehearsals, she cracked on that note almost every second time, and I got very worried. So finally, I studied German very much, you know, the last days, and then I called him up and I said, well, if she's cracking on the notes, I have to be blamed for it anyway. Then I would like to crack myself, you know. Well. so, but you think really you can sing it? So I said, well, let me try. And I tried, and it went fine.
And she never got to do it?
No, it's never got to do it.
Hey, it does make sense to. You might as well screw up your own note.
I mean, if she would have had beautiful and sang a marvelous note, which I could have been, you know, taken credit for, it would be something else. But not in the contrary, you know.
No, I think you would have to have pointed out that she had sung it if she had cracked on it, I think.
But how? How would I?
No way to do it.
Because I should put in my head and say, it wasn't me. It wasn't me.
Love the idea of it. What's the toughest role, the one you really have to go into training for?
Oh, I have only tough roles.
They
are long, and they never end, and they're dramatic, and I have only tough roles, but they are beautiful, everyone, so I'm happy with them.
Is it Isolde where you have to stand for about 70 minutes or on?
Oh, 78 in the first act.
78?
Oh, yes.
Sorry.
Not only to stand, but I have to sing too, so
Really? Oh, I didn't realize that. I've never seen it.
Well...
Singing too, eh?
It's a long evening.
Is that the one about which you said that comfortable shoes are the most important?
It is important. I mean, if you're talking about standing, you know,
sure.
It was a friend of mine. She asked, you know, what was, you know, the equipment for be able to sing Isolde if it was very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, no, it's not so difficult, but you know, the first act takes 78 minutes, and and you have to stand and walk around the whole time, so you must have comfortable shoes. Oh, she said, and her husband said, there you see. I'm sure you can do it if you find the shoes. But I don't think she tried.
Oh.
She maybe didn't find the shoes.
Was that the... It's no business like shoe business.
I will remember that. My nest.
What was the one where your costume was sprayed green or something? Do you know what I'm referring to? Was that
so many things have happened to my costumes, you know, but I remember that was in London. I was going to sing Isolde, and I was having a green costume, and it was all right, I thought, at the general rehearsal. But before the performance, when I came in my dressing room, I didn't recognize the dress because it was much greener. So they had been spraying it, and that was okay with me. But when I came on stage, I discovered they had been spraying it with watercolor. So my hands were green, and when I tried to make some gestures, I got green all over the face. Tristan got green, Brangene got green, and I was a real Irish princess that evening, you know. I cried. It was terrible. Absolutely terrible. I felt I was striped, you know, striped.
Striped with green?
Striped in the face with green. And then in the second act, I have been on every place I didn't touch with another dress. I got the green color back because on those places I had been, the green color had come off, you know. It's terrible.
And what, did anybody smart for that? Did you...
Well, what can you do? Everyone, you know, is blaming another one, you know. So you can never find another time in London, I lost a wig, you know, because the wig master, he was so proud. And he said, my wigs, you don't need to put on some pins. They sit anyway. And I was so nervous before my entrance, I didn't think of it. And all of a sudden, the wig started to, you know, fell off. And not only that, because he has put on a half of a nylon stocking on my hair, and I had thought I had to pull the wig, you know, further, and I was pulling the stocking. So I got the nylon stocking over my eyes, and so the critics, they wrote the next day that even if the wig let her down, the voice didn't let her down.
They put a stocking on over your real hair and then put the wig over that.
Yes, and it's very slippery, you know, that nylon. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I cried at that time, too.
Maybe you'd be the person to run this in front of. You always hear these sort of, what am I trying to say? These sort of coy stories about opera singers, especially tenors, who are not supposed to, who are supposed to abstain from sex before performances, and some people take that quite seriously.
Really?
Is there anything to that? Or?
You know, I'm not a tenor, so I don't know what to say. And
No?
I haven't asked them really, so I cannot. I cannot tell.
It wouldn't apply to sopranos.
I don't think so.
I've never understood what it has to do with tenors.
Well, I think
they
need all the force they you know, they can get.
They need all
to get up to these, you know, high notes, which is very not so natural for a man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe that's it.
Maybe it's only in the head. I don't know.
Well, you and Franco Corelli have had some colorful go-rounds. Apparently, it's hard to find anybody to match your power, but
he was
say
so
that he
powerful.
does.
He was very powerful.
Yeah.
He really was, yes. We had lots of big lungs and lots of high notes. It was incredible. And it was very, very tough to keep up with him. It was like a bullfight every time we were singing Turandot together. Who was going to sing the high notes, hold the high notes longer, you know? Oh, it was terrible.
It was a real contest.
It was a real contest, yes. For me, at least. Maybe not for him, I don't know. Then finally we came to Boston, and then I probably had a good day or good night, so I kept my notes much longer than he did that evening. He got very angry at me, and he left the stage, and he wasn't, you know, I had to sing my duet alone. The conductor didn't know the difference. And he refused to go on stage, you know, with me for the third act.
Did?
But then Mr. Bing, Sir Rudolph, he said, well, you know, if you bite her instead of kissing her, because I have to turn to a woman, you know, at that time by his kiss, and if you bite her instead, then it's really, you know, there will be a revanche. And he thought it was a very good idea, but he never came to biting me, and he didn't kiss either. He was angry altogether. And when I am singing, and now my glorious time is over, and he said, instead of he should say, no, now it starts. He said, yes, now it starts. But then somebody told me what Mr. Bing had said, that he should bite me. So I sent Mr. Bing a cable and said, I cannot go on to Cleveland because I am so hard bitten by a tenor. So I'm sick and being believed in the first moment, you know. I got very scared, but finally he understood
shook him up, did
it
you?
was a joke. Then we became very good friends, and he sent me then flowers and everything when I came. So
Corelli did,
or yes, yes.
But to leave the stage during a performance is a little bit
well,
upsetting.
if you are
isn't it?
temperamental and you're Italian, then you can do it.
Well, that's right. I forgot. he definitely Italian.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. Always when you sing in Italy, you never think that the performance will, you know, come off, because you think everyone says, "Ah, no, can't do it. I don't want to sing this. I'm not going to sing under these circumstances." And the other one doesn't want to sing under those circumstances. And you always think, it will never be a performance. But somehow, through a magic,
always a miracle when it happens.
The miracle, yes, comes.
So why were you wearing that miner's cap, the light on your cap?
I tell you, it was so dark on stage. I said in an interview I can go out and have a cup of coffee. Nobody would know the difference, or I could see the net or something like that. So it came from the management somewhere, you know, the miner's help, because it was so dark on stage. Yeah. We had only one spotlight light, but that was put on the conductor. So, you know, and in the second act, when I'm going to rescue my sister who is pregnant, Siglindis, is going to get a child called Siegfried, and then the ring is going on. And I had to pick up her in the fight, you know, to rescue her. And I couldn't see, so I picked up her brother instead, who was dead. And I was standing there and dragging at Siegfried, and I thought it was Siglinde, because it was so dark. Until he said, "Leave me alone." So no wonder I will get the miner's helmet.
Oh, well, that explains it. There was a rumor that you had drunk a beer on stage, or had a beer concealed on stage once, or something, and that must have been from something you said about there was time to, or dark enough to go drink a beer.
No, I never drink beer on stage, no.
Was it Corelli who kept sponges to keep his voice?
Yeah, he's very dry, like I am now. He always had sponges, you know. And
where would they be?
He was sucking those sponges, and then before a high note, and it's terrible to have the dry throat, really. Yeah. And I remember we had a broadcasting of Turandot, and the broadcast is very important. And he was standing there, turning his back to me, and somehow he put his hands inside his pants. And he was somehow feeling around, and I couldn't, you know, I got distracted because I didn't know what he was going to do. Really. Oh, and all of a sudden, you know, he found us, he got out a sponge, and he started to suck that. And I thought, what is he going to do now? And then and after that, he gave it to the chorus ladies, and then he turned around and sang a high C, like, oh, beautiful. Oh, but he almost killed me because I laughed so hard.
I should think you would. Oh, well. Oh, yes, people should be very careful how they remove their sponges from their cap.
Absolutely, yes. Well, you know, we have no pockets or anything. That was the only place, I guess, where he could put it. But, you know, strange.
I don't know where. Well, anyway, I can think of any number of things not to say. Would you sing something for us while we recover?
Oh, I have to drink a little more. I'm
wonderful. Would love to have you sing.
Should I sing now?
Oh, I'd love it. I think we all would. But Birgit Nilsson will be singing. She will be singing Wien, Wien, Vienna, City of Dreams, accompanied by Martin Smith.
Mein Herz und mein Sinn schwärmt stets nur für ihn, für ihn, wie es weit, wie es lang.
best good night to Birgit Nilsson. Thank you.